All right, gang, welcome back. We've got another Zyori +1 here. This is episode whatever number. We've got D2Bowie. I think he's just Bowie now. He's from Brazil. He's a South American Dota 2 expert. He's been
Hi.
grinding for fucking ever. Bowie is the grinder of grinders. He's been doing some educational content, I guess you'd call it, for years now. He's just recently released an updated support guide that is probably still on Reddit right now. Bowie, what's it called? How can they find it? Give us the plug at the top of the
Um,
hour.
the name is How to Suck Less as a support. You can find it on Reddit. I think it's on True Dota, Learn Dota 2, and Dota 2. You can also find it on my Twitter, which is at D2Bowie. And there will be a site that I can say the name now, but it's not online just yet. It's called Get Better Dota 2.
Get
Uh,
better Dota
uh,
2.
yeah, ideally, like there's gonna be like a guide for carries, offlaners, all that stuff. But so far, I have the support thing going on, and it looks pretty good. I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, I thumbed through it. I haven't read the whole thing yet. It's like 30 pages, 35
Yeah,
pages, something like that. But it's very well organized. There's a really detailed table of contents. A lot of tender loving care went into this thing. And you made it after this patch came out, right? So this is like very
yes.
contemporary. This is as cutting edge as it gets in terms of what to do as a support, right?
Thank you.
Yeah. So, how was the launch, buddy? Was was the Reddit thread? I saw it early, but where did it end up? Did it blossom into that beautiful Reddit flower that you always hope it can be?
Yeah, I think it blossomed a lot. It was. I think it has like about 900 upvotes right now. One problem that I had and I didn't check is that like since it's a 40 megabyte PDF, I think a lot of people actually had trouble opening it up. And I had this Imgur album where I actually turned every PDF into a picture, but for
Hmm.
some reason it stopped working. So
Hmm.
I think maybe not everyone actually saw it. But once the website is up, I think it's going to be much easier to navigate through the for the guide. So I might
Yeah.
repost in like a week or something.
So it popped up on Dropbox for me, but if Google
Mm-hmm.
Drive is back and working, that's always been my old reliable for file
Oh
sharing whenever I'm sending stuff to people. I don't know why.
yeah,
It's just it tends to work well and be very easy. Dropbox is always trying to advertise. It's always upselling. They're always trying to sell
yeah.
me
I want you
something.
to log in.
Yeah,
It's
that I
it's
really
awful.
don't. And I guess Google is probably the same way, but I'm already default logged into Google for a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So it feels integrated with Dropbox. It feels like it's kind of like Steam. You know, Steam is to Google as Dropbox is
Mm.
to fucking everything else. I don't know.
Yeah, there's that Ubisoft one, which is super annoying, and the Riot one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I bought SimCity and it was on. I always confuse it now because it's not the Epic Games Store. It was the Galaxy one, GOG. Um,
Uh,
was it the Galaxy something game launcher? God, I can't remember. It was
I can't
awful though.
remember
I
as well.
remember being so hyped for SimCity, and then you go to install that shit, and you're like, wait, what? What's this? And then you install it, and you go, oh, I don't want this. I don't want a program to open a program. What is this? What year is it? Come on. I thought we were building
Yeah.
cities. I hate it, man. So what's up in your world, buddy? I'm excited to catch up. It's been a little while since we've really chatted. You were here for was it Jungle Jam? Was it Midas Mode? I
Yeah.
can't even fucking remember,
I
dude.
think it was
Was it
no
both?
no, it was yeah, Jungle Jam. I think after the finals or before the finals, not sure, but it was Jungle Jam.
Okay, it was Jungle Jam, so it was the TI event. Yeah,
I
I
think
remember.
Jenkins was with us, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
God, it's insane how that was only like a year ago, and I don't remember it that well at all. It's it was so stressful and so much was going on that I think
Wow.
I've partially blocked it out. But it's coming into focus now a little bit. I remember you had to spend a lot of time in the hotel. You were like producing
Mm,
videos that we were rolling and mixing in with the event. I
from our
remember
bites.
I remember the event at the end. I had a moment with Slacks where we joked, like, man, we were hoping this would be Bowie's big break. And this was another very Bowie event where you worked really hard on amazing content that not enough people saw. You know, it was very on brand for you in sort of a bad
Yeah.
way. But it was a lot of fun, though. I'm glad that you were able to hang out with us.
Yeah, and I loved like actually like hanging around Denver and Colorado. Like I was really glad I could actually travel there because that's one of best things about actually working with Dota that unfortunately Corona kind of doesn't allow. But
Yeah.
like actually traveling, I really like it. Just like knowing new places, and even if I only stay for like 2 or 3 days, it's always really refreshing to like eat new food and meet new people.
I mean, you were very adventurous, man. I remember being a little bit like burned out and feeling like kind of guilty that I didn't have the reserves left to play host and show you around, but
Nah,
you seemed completely unfazed by it. You were like, "Ah, fuck that, dude. I'm just gonna go take the bus and go walk around Denver. You know,
dude,
we'll see what
those
happens."
buses. It was so long. Like I think from Denver to like you live in Boulder, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and from Boulder to the center of Denver, it was like maybe 1 hour and a half of traveling. It was a lot of time, but it was really fun. And like Ubers are so expensive in the US. Like I was surprised, like
Yes.
comparison wise. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get the bus. No way I'm paying $100 to go from Boulder to like it would
Yeah.
be $100 going in and then $100 going back. So that was a little too much at the time for me.
Yeah, Colorado is one of those places that's just spread out enough that if you don't have your own car, it's kind of a pain in the
Mm,
ass to get around. You know, it's not
yeah.
metropolitan like New York or like parts of Los Angeles or parts of San Francisco, and it's really easy to get around. It's a little more spread out, which is cool, but yeah, you kind of need some wheels to see the full thing. But
Hmm.
um, have you done any traveling since then? I mean, when was your last time on a
Hmm.
plane? I'm trying to remember what mine was, and I've also forgotten because those last couple events I worked at the end of 2019 were my Moonduck events. So I actually didn't have to travel for those, which was just that's a rarity. Um,
Huh.
it's been a hot minute.
I'm trying to think. That might
Look at my
that might have been
Wikipedia.
my last trip. Honestly, I did actually go to the beach, but I did take like I went with friends in a car, so I did travel a little bit, like around São Paulo, which is the city I live. But overall, it's been a while since I actually been in a plane. I mean, it was that time. It was September, right? September or August of 2018. 18. No, 19. 19.
19,
Yeah.
19.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the last time I flew was to Croatia for Dota Pit 2019, which was in April.
Just a second here. Like there's a weird sound going on. I'm not sure if the mic's picking it up, but just one.
Okay,
Sorry.
I hear a dog.
Yeah. Sorry. I think it was like my girlfriend's cell phone or something. It
It's
was
okay. I don't think
kind of
I heard it.
bothering me.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, that was
Sorry.
the
Sorry.
Dota Pit where the first place prize was some prize pool and then a slot in the MDL Disneyland Paris major. So,
Yeah.
yeah, something like April 2019. I'm coming up on almost 2 years since I've been on an airplane for international travel. That's fucking insane.
Yikes. I mean, do you enjoy it?
I
The traveling aspect of
I
it?
do. I've really come to enjoy it. I hated it as a kid. I despised it when we used to travel to like visit grandparents and stuff. My family, like
Mm.
aunts and uncles and grandparents, have always been kind of spread out across the United States. And for whatever reason, my parents never wanted to book direct flights back in the day. Maybe they just didn't exist. But I just have these vivid memories of taking like 3 stop flight connections to get from Philadelphia to
Oh
Boise,
God.
Idaho, or something, and just
Mm.
being miserable the entire time. This was also before the age of tablets and switches and TVs built into the seats in front of you and stuff. So
Uh-huh.
traveling has changed to the point that I actually think it's kind of fun. It's cool to be disconnected and have that guilt-free, like, I'm just gonna watch 3 movies, have 3 glasses of
Uh-huh.
wine, and fucking kick back. Nobody can call or text me right now. No work's getting done today, bitches. I'm flying. Like, especially we get
Yeah,
paid for travel days too. You get a half rate. Oh my god, that's that.
for sure.
I'm getting paid to sit on an international flight. That is the actual fucking dream, bud. I mean, I can't think of many things better than that. I used to say the only thing I didn't like about traveling as a young adult was having to pay for it. So
Mm.
these days, I'd say it's really not too bad. We're decently well taken care of in that regard, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully things are gonna get better soonish. I hope. The traveling aspect was really fun, and
Yeah.
actually, uh, so All right, I kind of want to talk about something, but I'm not sure if you're allowed to talk about it. So
Go for it, dude. Worst case, I'll give you a lame answer, but let's fire.
about the Dota pit thing, are we allowed to talk about?
Um,
Huh.
I've been hinting at it a lot, but I haven't said anything. So what Trent and I would do is dance around it. And so I'm going to tell you what Dota Pit does every time because I know they're not
All
listening.
right.
I know they don't listen to my podcast. All right. They always say, "Hey, we're going to do an awesome talent announcement." And I go, "When?" They go, "Soon. We got to do this other stuff first." And I go, "Okay." And then we get
All
to
right.
like 2 days before the tournament starts. And I'm thinking, is there going to be an announcement? Then we get to a day and I go, there's not going to be an announcement. And I just say, hey guys, I'm doing Dota Pit. And then Dota Pit starts and old Zyori's there like everyone expects and it's no big deal. And then Dota Pit says, oh yeah, that talent announcement. Our bad. It's all good. So they have assured me that there will be a talent announcement for the coverage coming up. So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I don't think it's like some crazy secret, but I also don't want to like, you know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
make a
no, it's
big
all right.
deal
It's all right.
about it until in case there is a big announcement forthcoming. But it's
Mhm.
not a big surprise. There are some folks you might be able to predict that are going to be covering the South American region for DPC with Dota Pit. So, with that said, buddy, what do you got? Fire away.
No, I was just gonna mention that I was really excited when you told me that we might actually go to Croatia, and because of COVID we can't. But hopefully, when things are better, I
Yeah,
would love to go because I remember the first Dota pit that ever happened. Uh, do you remember what? Jesus, I forgot his name. He's like a really big analyst actually, and he made
Lacoste,
this like it's not Lacoste, but he's also Eastern
Lizard.
European, and yes, and he was gonna make this like hostel with like everyone's gonna watch the games together.
Oh, okay.
And it was in the same city. I assumed that's because he was a minor, and I think he just like tried to make everyone gather and like hang out.
Okay.
And I really wanted to go, but unfortunately I couldn't. So hopefully when COVID gets better, I might actually get to travel there.
Yeah, Lizard is pretty cool. He worked that
Yeah.
last Dota pit that I did, and that might have been the first time I worked with him in person. I can't
Hmm.
remember now, but yeah, he's a lot of fun. He's a
He
cool
was in
guy.
Berlin actually, in that same tournament from the picture. So
Ah, okay,
it was
okay.
really nice meeting him.
Yeah, from Bosnia. That's the thing I
Hmm.
always remember about Lizard. What a place, Bosnia and
Yeah.
Herzegovina. Yeah, Croatia's pretty cool. Dude, this whole DPC thing, like this is one of these podcasts where I have so many things I'd love to say and I can only talk about like a quarter of them. But I think
Mm.
it's common knowledge at this point that this very first season has been absolute chaos getting off the ground. I've had a very, very small role, mostly just on the talent side, trying to organize coverage in the one little region that I'm working in. But I've been talking to a lot of other talent. I've been talking to a lot of TOs, and COVID has really complicated this whole mess. And I think when the DPC announcements were made that, hey, we're going to be doing something 2021, yeehaw, maybe we were cautiously optimistic that not COVID is going to go away, but we're going to start to see that plateau a little bit. Vaccine is coming. Again, cautious
Yeah.
optimism that it's not just going to exponentially go the other way in terms of transmission. It's looking pretty fucking bad, bud. Um, it's tough, and traveling is a real bitch, and it's scary when there's unknowns in terms of, yeah, sure, you can still get exceptions to go from the USA to the European Union or from the UK to the European Union or whatever on business
Mhm.
if you're a high profile, special hired, whatever. Totally possible, happens all the time, but a couple of complicators. Christmas and New Year's. So those are
Yeah.
business days lost. And those business type things are much lower priority than a lot of other visas that get elevated status in terms of if you have a passport for that region and you're coming home, if a family member died and you're attending a funeral, if you're a student and there's some education thing. Like us going to a Dota tournament is the lowest fucking priority on the stack
Yeah.
compared to basically everything else in terms of the exceptions that they're letting through. So,
Mhm.
we talked to some consulates and stuff, and they were pretty much like it's just going to get worse. There's just going to be more restrictions. Chances of this getting approved by the time the coverage date starts, very low, / shrug. And then we get stuck in this. How do we start coverage with a potential travel date unknown of, hey, maybe we can get there halfway through the season? No, fuck that.
Yeah.
Okay, on-site's not going to be possible. So it's like a blessing and a curse. I am bummed because I really miss that feel of having talent on site and like that energy. And it's just it's a different vibe when there's no ping and we're just talking like dudes in a room and you got real proper production. It sucks that we can't do that. At the same time, though, bud, Croatia is a big-time vacation destination, and I was looking at some of the numbers, and Split is a big vacation town, and it's actually like the second worst spot in the country in terms of COVID outbreaks. So it's maybe like at first I was like, oh, it's a little beach town. That's awesome. We'll be isolated. No, it's like in the second most populated area in the country, and it's where all the fucking shoobies fly in to go hang out on the beach. So we'd be spending a lot of time just locked indoors, which we're doing here anyway. But, it's just like in a strange apartment where you don't know anybody, you don't know the food, and it's hard to do stuff. That's
true.
That can get tough. So I don't know. I'm bummed, but I wouldn't say I'm excited, but I'm relieved that there are at least options to still do some remote coverage stuff that I'm excited for. I think we can still do the coverage justice, even if we're not there in person.
I agree. And hopefully, I mean, there's going to be 2 seasons, right? No idea whether things are going to change from one to another, but
I think everybody's just taking it step by step at this point.
Yeah.
And so, okay, so enough vague stuff about the upcoming actual DPC coverage. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, man, is qualifiers and stuff leading up to qualifiers. And like I almost feel bad because this podcast is supposed to sort of be about you, but there's so much shit going on in the new year that like this. I saw you tweeting at Jack this morning. I saw Jack popping off about the current state of the DPC qualifiers. I'm gonna go ahead and just pull up his Twitter so I can read some stuff verbatim here. Jack, big friend of the show. He's
hello, Jack.
He was on a month or 2 ago. Now I wish I had saved that and brought him on to talk about this DPC stuff. But I guess his big concern is that DPC is now going to be the league, right? This is our version of LCS. And let's start at the very beginning, Bowie. I remember back in 2013, maybe it was 2014, okay? There was a series called IPL, the IGN Pro League. All right, this is way back when IGN was still owned by itself. They hadn't sold out to the big holding company Zip Davis yet, okay? So they're running these massive, like, hybrid MLG style events. It was StarCraft 2, League of Legends, and there might have been a fighting game. It might have been Tekken, might have been Smash. I can't remember what it was. But they were actually pretty hype leagues. And this is when League of Legends still didn't have LCS set up yet. So it was these third-party events all kind of vying for the big slot of who's going to be the big wig TO. It was kind of like when League of Legends still had some of the vibes that we have in the Dota space right now. A lot of third-party independent action. So MLG had done a couple of successful events. Things were looking good for them to take the throne. And then IGN says, we want to do it. They invest in this tournament series where they say, we're not going to break even until IPL 7 based on these projections. IPL 1, small but pretty good. IPL 2, growing and mighty, amazing production. And it was right around IPL 3 or 4 where LCS dropped and Riot said, hey, yeah, one of the things about LCS is that we now have exclusive control over what events the teams get to play in because we're paying their salaries and we're paying for the league that is paying for those salaries. So we get to control all their media rights as part of those contracts. So I know you had this event planned for IPL 4 and that like you already sold all these tickets, but none of the top 12 teams in North America can play or the top 12 teams in Europe. So they basically had to bag the whole tournament series because they sold it on this idea of running an event with tier 1 teams, and Riot said, nah, fuck you, we want to save that for our stuff. You can run some tier 2 events with the leftovers if you want, but nah, we get TSM, we get Cloud9. Now, I might have some of those dates slightly wrong. I might be paraphrasing slightly poorly. The memory's foggy, but that was the general gist of it. And that was why IGN needed that big buyout, because they spent a lot of money on that shit and they never made it to IPL
I didn't
7.
know about it.
Yeah, so it was like a big StarCraft thing, and this is like, small time League of Legends. Fun fact: I met that guy. What's his name? Element. I remember. Oh god, I can't even remember. He was. I think he might have retired now. Pro up in. It was like before League pros had LCS salaries. Wild time. But that exclusivity pooped all over these third-party events that were growing. And now that was intentional, right? That was part of Riot's business model. They tested the waters with the third party. That's exactly what they're doing with Valorant. They're going to see what works and what doesn't at somebody else's expense. Thanks for the free beta test. And then they're just going to take everything and monetize it however they see to fit the model best. That's a little bit what Valve is doing indirectly with DPC, because no other third-party events can operate during that time, and it would appear, based on some of the stuff on Twitter and like what Lotus said, teams aren't able to play in other stuff while DPC is going on. So then you look at the DPC schedule and go, okay, so one region, that's 10 best of threes per week. Okay, yeah, that's a decent amount of coverage, but that's Division 1 and Division 2, and that's 16 teams. That's actually not that many games per team. And
yes,
when you look at the total prize dollars, while this is nice kind of in a vacuum, as the standalone only league, this might actually be shittier for some of these teams, kind of like Quincy Crew, that are in that middle ground of like they're pro level, but they're in a region that's not particularly valuable, and they're not quite, like tier 1 EU status for a variety of reasons, including region and scrim partners and lack of access and all that stuff. So, sorry, very verbose intro here, but I think that is the general gist of where this conversation started. Do you kind of agree? Am I way off here? Is that?
I kind of feel like it really depends on whether Loda is actually right about what he said. I really saw the tweet, and I was, because like in my mind, because the teams actually don't play that many games, and I assume it's going to be known prior when each team is going to be playing. Technically, there could be events that happen in between the league. I guess the bigger problem might be if there's going to be enough eyes to justify a TO to spend money on a tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's definitely like there's definitely a concern. But presumably, if you have like good teams, people would watch the games, right? I don't know what you think. Like I don't actually work with creating TOs and stuff, and I do agree that like for the middle ground teams and probably for the big teams, it might be weird, because I don't think like what's the prize that you get for being a in Divine 1? Do you remember the money?
Divine 1, Division
Yeah,
1.
yeah. Division 1.
I can pull it up in just a moment here. I don't remember off the top of my
I don't
head.
think it was that much money, right? So I assume actually it's like,
I think it's like 30,000 per season, 20,000 per season, something to that
so
tune,
that would be
in like the middle places.
6K each player for 2 months. I mean, yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's rough because they
Okay.
made more money in other tournaments, so
prize distribution. I can link you the original blog post. It was the one posted in February. I'll post it in Twitch chat as well. So the prize numbers: first place of Division 1 is 30,000. Then it goes down by about 1,000 per place. So in Division 2 rather, the lower division, first place is 17,000. And then of course you get promoted to the upper division, etc. So if you're 15th, 16th out of the top 16 teams here across the divisions, you get $0.
Yeah.
So, and this is per season, and there are 3 seasons leading up to TI, if I'm not mistaken. So you got to remember to times 3 that. It's not just one.
I see. Mm-hmm.
So if you, let's say, your top 3, you're getting roughly 30K. If you're top 3 every season, that's guaranteed 90K going into TI, plus you get, DPC points if you're top 3. So you would
And
go to TI and presumably win something. So
is there a major in between every season then?
yes, I think there
So
is
there
a
is
major
also
after every season.
there is a chance that you get more money and DPC if you do get top 2, right? I guess.
Correct. Yeah, and the
Yeah.
majors have a 200K first place prize. I think it's a
Mm-hmm.
500K prize pool.
Yeah, one thing that I feel like there's definitely like a concern from what I've read from K. I know that his handle is K Barbecue, but I always forgot his name.
Jack
What's his name
Chen.
again? Yeah, Jack. I think the fact that there's no open qualifiers for TI, that's I feel like it could be a problem, right? Because I've actually seen in the blog post, there's another blog post where they said if the teams don't show up for 2 games, I'm not sure if that means BO3 or only an actual game, they get disqualified. And considering, like, I don't know,
Jesus.
imagine you're this NA team, you start losing every game, they kind of lose, they don't want to play with each other anymore. Like, if they don't play, then they they might just lose the chance to go to TI, even if they're good players.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I guess it's a strong incentive to not fuck around and take it seriously. Which,
yeah,
I mean, it'll
yeah.
be interesting to see the viewership, because normally people were saying stuff like, "Oh, to Division 2 South America, lol, who would ever pay for that?" But if there's no other Dota on, those games actually do carry a significant amount of weight, because getting top
Mhm.
2 in lower division means you go up to upper division, and once you're in upper division, if you like win or go top 3, I mean, first place is 500 DPC points. That's a potential TI run there, and you get seeded into upper division, I think, into the next season, right? So there's
Yeah.
no open qualifiers in between seasons. There's only open qualifiers at the beginning now, right?
That's true.
I think. So that's one of the, like, I saw no one say basically, if I miss this first one, I'm pretty much fucked unless a team has some crazy roster swap, because there's no other just like open chance to get in. It's all
But wait, uh, if you like lower the bottom 2 lower division, I guess there's only open qualifiers for Division 2. You mean so that for like, yeah,
oh,
like
okay. So
if
there
you don't
are
participate in
opens.
the first one, you have to open qualifier for lower division, but there's no DPC, so you're only getting DPC in the third one in case you do get first or second place in the
Ah,
lower, right?
okay. Yes, yeah, you're
Yeah,
right. So I misspoke. You're
yeah.
right. So there are open qualifiers, but you can only qualify into lower, and only DPC points exist in the top 5 of the upper. So you'd have to win lower, and
Yeah.
then best case you could win upper in the third season, get your 500 DPC points, which probably won't be enough to qualify you for TI.
Hmm.
Probably. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
depending on how shit goes, but that's not a lot. So wow,
Yeah.
because you do get DPC points for placing at the major. That's a big chunk of them. So it's very top heavy, right? Like placing at the top and then going into the major and then placing at the major. Like if you place top 8 in the first major and then just don't disband, I think you have a pretty good chance of like qualifying for TI.
Yeah, I think Knoxville was talking about it, that like in terms of I'm not really a math guy. I don't understand that much about it. But basically, because the people that get into Division 1, like the everyone that gets into Division 1 right now, it kind of messes with how, because there's few games, right? You don't
Mm-hmm.
really get to rank the teams as well as you would with the old model. Meaning you kind of can fluke get second place upper division, fourth place major, and that's like 300 DPC plus 350. So that's like a lot. I assume
Mm.
you can probably maybe getting to TI because of like results where good teams were in the lower division, but they didn't have the chance to play the other ones in the upper.
Yeah, like
So
there's not enough mobility or whatever.
yes, yeah, I think that is probably something they have
Yeah.
to address. Maybe you give like bottom three leaves upper division, top three gets in. Not might not be enough actually. I don't know.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
I'm losing my train of thought here. There was another.
Sorry.
No, there was. I'm reading this old blog post now. So there was another big issue though. Where was? Did I have another tab open? Um, where was I? With this
Mm,
current DPC, there was another big issue I wanted to bring up, and now I've completely forgotten what it is. They changed the scheduling, which is totally fine. It's a little bit earlier, but they claimed that was based on team feedback and stuff. Totally cool there. I'm
mhm.
glad that they don't have overlapping matches, so that in theory you can watch everything. You know, if you want to watch all of South America, all of North America, that's totally cool.
And I think TOs are happy because everyone gets their share of the viewership, right?
So yeah, I guess part of Jack's point was that when you factor in all the cash here, this really isn't a big upgrade from what we have now, even though this is like it feels like it's more spread out compared to TI. This being exclusive means that this is everything, and
Yes.
you don't necessarily get that many opportunities to prove yourself compared to having these more, like when there's more tournaments. Yes, it's more scattered and it's more chaotic, but it's more opportunistic, I guess. You have these opportunities to get into events because they clash or whatever, and um, I guess it feels kind of like a side grade now that we're really seeing it in practice, and the exclusivity of it all is really coming into focus. I think that,
Mhm.
to me, that was the overarching complaint that I saw on Twitter that was echoed, that people were empathizing with, um, was that this is just a sidestep that's slightly more centralized, but it's not really that much more money when it comes down to it, and is winning. So look at lower division, is winning $11,000 if you place fourth 3 times a year. Does that actually
Yeah.
change anything? Split across 5 people, 30 grand. That's barely even a hobby. Um, I guess I
Mm.
don't know where I'm going with it. I feel like everyone's being very critical, but we don't know how to fix it, and maybe I'm in that camp as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I know the answer for it. I do feel like there are like I don't know if you get an A, there is definitely not 14 teams that are really good. So there might be players that are I don't know 7K, 8K, and they play a lot of Dota. They have this like stack that they play with, but they don't get
Mm.
anything from it. And now that you have this, you do make this like up and coming tier 3 guys really happy because like they were playing for nothing anyway. So now
That's true. That's true.
that does make like the higher level of Dota people more interested in playing. But I do agree with like that is a good part, but it doesn't have to be in detriment of everyone else. So
Yeah. It's like if this just
maybe
exists in parallel to what we already had,
yes.
it's just a
Yes.
value add. But if it's an
Hmm.
either or, then we have to be a little more critical of like, all right, it has all these little facets that haven't quite worked out, where like, okay, this part's not quite overtuned enough, this part's not undertuned enough, whatever. I just remembered what the other criticism was. So this whole time in COVID lockdown, we've had some random third-party events. And for the
Yeah.
most part, the dialogue has been, these events don't really matter. A lot of teams aren't really trying that hard. These are kind of just paid scrims for a lot of teams. We're all just glad to have something to do. This is all just buying time till DPC. A lot of teams and players taking breaks because, hey, if there's a time to take a break, let's do it now when games don't matter, knowing that DPC is coming. It turns
Mhm.
out that was a little bit of a bait, because
Yeah.
teams got directly invited into the upper division based on recent results throughout the last 6 months. So basically, teams have been playing in these hidden qualifiers that have de facto served as seeding coming into this DPC. And that kind of sucks. That's part of this whole lack of communication thing that is frustrating, where Valve didn't have to say much. They could have said, hey, we're going to take 6 months to evaluate, but at the end of this 6 months, we're going to, look at how teams are faring, and then we're going to try to launch DPC, but we need a little more time. Then teams would have known. Maybe certain players wouldn't have taken a prolonged break during that time, and would have been grinding a lot harder, knowing that people were going to go back and look at how they placed in those recent tournaments. That was a criticism I saw that I hadn't thought of on my own, but seems pretty fair. I'm really having trouble disagreeing with it.
Yeah, I totally agree, especially because the way that upper division and lower division and open qualifiers are working for each region is different. So, like, in some cases, you actually get kind of like a fair placement of the teams and everyone can fight for upper division, but in other ones, you can't. So I think Tavo and his tech were complaining about that. So I definitely agree. I think, especially considering how, like, the thing we talked about, where if you actually get from lower, you're only going to be getting DPC in the third season. That's definitely a problem for a lot of players, because that's good money, but yeah, it still really is what everyone is trying to get to, and I think that makes it really hard. It doesn't feel fair in that sense.
Yeah. But what is fair? I guess at the same time, it is easy to sit here and say, well, you should have said it was going to be 6 months. Of course, they didn't know it was going to be 6 months at the time. So maybe I'm not applying a fair standard to it. But again, I think if you're going to come in and build the LCS of Dota, it really needs to be done meticulously with a very keen attention to detail, and ideally a lot of communication. But
yeah, I also wanted to pick your brain about this. I actually tweeted about this, but not a lot of people answered. Do you think TI is actually a possibility, considering how Corona is going on and Europe in general?
Okay, so my gut says no. However, so in this whole first season mess of coverage for DPC, I guess it's been announced where the other, like, who's covering what region. A lot of European-based companies there. Basically, all of them have studios in Europe that they want to bring international talent to broadcast out of. Now,
I see.
Our group was included in that strategy, and as we discussed earlier, we're staying home. We're working it remote. Now, I did talk to another talent that was planning on going to a coverage hub in Sweden, and he told me today that they had not gotten flights yet, and he hasn't heard any special instructions about what to do in terms of getting in with, like, the visa lockdown COVID situation. So apparently the plan remains optimistic that international folks can get to parts of Europe for the coverage. I think if they can somehow, I'm more optimistic that 16 teams and their managers and coverage teams and all the languages can get to a couple of these key countries. Like, maybe Sweden, maybe somebody at DreamHack has connections with the government and they can streamline this shit, and it's just as simple as stamping a document and everybody can come and it's no problem. If that's the case, Valve just has to spend the money in terms of doing an event that is hygienic and sanitized and somewhat social distance and secured, and there's an additional cost with doing that kind of mini bubble. But if you can get everybody to a good location like Sweden to do TI, and you can rent out an entire hotel in a little block, and nobody really leaves unless they have to, and all that kind of stuff, it's totally possible. So
yeah,
I'm like 50-50 on it. Is it possible? Yes. Is it actually likely to happen? I'd say the stars kind of have to align.
I do wanted to actually know the date of the end of the last season or something, and how far away it is from TI, because that's always kind of like a problem, right? When, like, these weird, like, I don't know, Chinese players or even South American players are trying to get their visas really quickly, and sometimes it's like, oh, we have another day until the flight leaves our country, and we don't get this visa, we might not actually get to TI.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully, I mean, I guess if Valve is actually pulling the strings and have contacts, which I assume they do, because I think it probably takes a lot of effort to
Yeah.
organize TI. Yeah, hopefully everything actually goes through.
It's a
Will
hard
be
question to answer, but I guess my gut says that Valve probably wouldn't just start doing
yeah,
DPC stuff if they thought it was a 0% chance they could do TI. You know,
yeah,
it
for sure.
it might be a 17% chance. You're one bash away from the event happening, and they're kind of rolling the dice because they have to do something now. That is
Mhm.
totally possible. So maybe it's unlikely, but they're going to chance it and see what happens because that's all that we can do during COVID, and we're all rolling with the punches. I
Yeah.
respect it. I highly doubt it's some sort of bait and switch like, well, they want DPC, so let's just do it. Can we do TI? Definitely not, but fuck it, let's do it. Like Valve doesn't think that way. You know, they're strategic. They don't want to dig that hole for themselves and then have to deal with it later where they just pull the plug again. Unless things take a serious turn for the worse or the something goes wrong with the vaccine or
True.
something.
But
Um,
will they make another compendium though and double the prize money of
Fuck,
TI?
dude. I don't know. So like, all right, where do you stand on flaming Valve? Because I'm not gonna lie, I saw Knoxville's tweet where he called them a bunch of little weasels, and I almost replied, "Well, there goes your TI invite forever." Like that was pretty savage. I think you could have made the same tweet without little weasels in there and get the same
Mhm.
point across. Not that I necessarily disagree with him, but I guess I'm at the point where I worked TI5. I've not been invited to a TI since. I've told the story a number of times, but the TI in China, I was told no to my face that I would not be invited. They specifically did me
Huh.
the honor of being like, "Hey, man, it's not happening." So, which I thanked them for, but at the same time, it was pretty brutal. That was a tough breakfast, man. um, and that was a year where I had worked like 3 of the 5 majors. Trent and I were slaying it at the super major. I actually felt like my casting was the best it's ever been at that period of time. We were really slaying it, had a good handle on the meta. And if I didn't make the cut then, I don't know what I got to do to make the cut. So I kind of feel like, yeah, whatever. I got no TI invite anyway, So not that I'm trying to, go out of my way to say rude stuff about Valve, but I'd rather be honest than toe the line because I got no line to toe. Are you in that camp, or do you speak your mind, or are you a little fearful of the Overlord? Would you ever tweet at Bruno and call him a fucking weasel? I mean,
Not sure I would go that far, but I think there is definitely criticism to be made about the way invites for TI. I mean, if you're only talking about TI invites, there's definitely. I remember. I think. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know. Jesus, what's his name again? The guy that made all of the matchups for the BTS bot TI thing. Lumi.
mm-hmm.
So there was one TI that he got invited, even though he didn't attend a single event the whole year.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know who pulls the strings, and I'm not calling him out specifically, but I do feel like that was pretty shitty for other analysts and like anyone that was trying to work his way up the ladder or whatever. So in general, there were definitely cases where I've seen someone work really hard the whole year. I think Moxie is another example of like just battling very hard to actually get to these events. And I think I'm not sure how it works, if it's just networking or if like the person that decides has like starts like getting friends with everyone. I honestly I have no idea how that works, but I feel like there have been several moments where invites were a little iffy at like to be very
Well, so it's
calm about it.
I
Yeah.
I feel where you're coming from, and I think the fallacy is in thinking that TI is some sort of objective merit-based reward system for slaying it the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. And I thought it was for a long time, and that was the thing that I had to understand to not go into a deep depression every year on that roller coaster of, am I going to be invited? Am I not going to be invited? And
Yeah.
then carrying your self-worth attached to that, like, I wasn't good enough. Fuck, why was like that? Like, if you ever watched that video of the year Mott didn't get invited, then Suns fan paid for his trip to go, and he made that video about like, I just got to get better, I just got to work harder, I just got to do more, and it's like those are true statements, but you didn't necessarily not get invited because you didn't work hard enough this year. You just didn't fit into their show plan. Like there was that first year that Chobra worked at TI. That one stung for me because I felt like, man, you got somebody like me who's like been in the scene forever. I know these players. I've talked to these players. I've run events with these players. I've drank beers with these players. I want to host that casual panel with Cinder. And I know this. I've been traded all my life for this job. Then they hire somebody who's not familiar with Dota and has never worked in our space. An amazing host, but a complete outsider. I almost took that personally. But then when I thought about it, I realized it's because the metric I was applying was completely from my own perspective. Valve doesn't care how much I know about Dota or how many beers I drank with Loda or how many handshakes I had with Ake or how many things I smoked with No Tail. It doesn't matter. None of that shit matters. What they wanted for that role was who is the best host we can get that fits these criteria of funny and pleasing and what's the word for it? Like, he doesn't curse. I don't want to say PC like he plays it safe, but he's very like, he doesn't tell poop jokes, man. It's like, I looked at his body of work and went, he's just better than me at hosting. If you take out the game stuff, he's just better at his job. He's more professional. He's the vibe that they want for TI. And I'm the sniff guy. And that's cool, but it's not a merit thing. It's not well, it is a little in terms of hosting, but it's not like a Dota merit thing. I didn't get snubbed that year because Valve wanted me to quit or thought I was total garbage or I didn't put the hours in. I just didn't fit into their show plan that they had for that year or the next year or the year after that. So I totally see where you're coming from. And that year with Lumi felt particularly like, I think they were trying to do what they did with Merlini, where he came back as like a VIP for the grand finals. I think same idea, just that was the beta execution of it. Hey, Lumi's our OG guy. We're going to bring him in. It'll be a special treat. But it was like for the whole event, and they put him on like the grand finals like that, and it rubs people the wrong way compared to the way they presented the Merlini. Like, hey, wow, look who it is. And,
totally agree.
So anyway, it's brutal though, dude. It is hard. And that's where, even though I tell that story of like Valve told me I wasn't invited, I'd still rather know. I mean, I really do like appreciate knowing it's a no is better than the limbo of like, well, I guess everyone's getting on their plane, so I guess the letter's not coming. It's like every day you just get a little more like, okay, I guess I'm not getting invited. So it sucks.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. I feel like when it comes to like analysts, it does get a little weirder because
that's true.
I guess it is about how like funny or like the chemistry between that guy and someone else that's getting invited works. But I'm very glad that Valve actually switched things up and started actually getting pros. And like I've really enjoyed how BSJ was invited to TIs and how he made his segments and stuff. I think that was pretty cool.
Well, there's a whole. I think like Valve has realized, especially through seeing all the innovations that have come in all these third-party events throughout the year, is that there's kind of an art form in presenting analysis, and it's a little more nuanced than just taking 4 of the best Dota minds and putting them on the panel with a good host like Day 9 that's objectively pretty funny and pretty good at his job. It's like that doesn't always work. That's not a winning formula. You need people that can banter. You need to add a little production value. You need to integrate things like they did with BSJ and Grant, where it was this own little segment, like the Nahaz segment they did as well. They're like, okay, Nahaz, you get to talk for 30 seconds and go. Like stuff like that is a really good way. You're playing to Nahaz's strengths and weaknesses by doing that. You're putting him in a container that makes what he has to offer even more presentable, and it makes it more digestible for the audience. It just makes it a better product. So we've gotten to this point where I agree and I disagree with you. It is for analysts kind of about how well do you know about Dota, but it's also how well can you do something that adds to the show and is Purge the best analyst? Maybe not objectively, but Weatherman Purge has added a lot more to his list of credentials when it comes to presenting
Yeah.
stuff on the TI level, right? I think
Mm.
that's a perfect example. Not to
It's
knock
kind of
on Purge, but
insane too, right? Because like everyone's like, "Oh, where's Purge and the Weatherman thing?" Like
yeah.
he kind of created a brand, I guess, which people like.
Yeah, and I mean, if I'm sure he's talked about it on his stream and stuff, but I mean, to do that right is really like you need a little mini production team. It's you need your own feed of the game, and you've got to be able to capture stuff, and you have to like write these scripts on the fly. It's like, okay, I have to watch the game, then digest the game, then come up with an angle, then we have to get the footage for the angle, then I have to like you're like basically doing sketches in real time that are
Yeah.
sort of pre-produced but just thrown onto the live stream for live presentation. It's really hard. It's really challenging to do that and make it like a 10 out of 10 polished product like that.
Mhm.
So
Definitely agree.
yeah, again, it's not necessarily a fair merit based thing. I mean, why is Purge the one that got to be the weatherman?
Yes,
I
yes.
don't know. I guess that was just a meme of just the way he talks or whatever, and then it kind of snowballed. But I would call that a little lucky to a certain degree. You know,
Mm.
it's like
I think it's
that's
also a first mover's advantage thing, right? Because he was there
yeah,
from the very start, so
yeah, that's true.
he. I mean, he was just like really at the beginning. There were not a lot, like there was not that many talent people, right?
Hmm.
There was like Toby, Rip Toby, Purge. How do you remember the first tournament that you cast for Dota or that you hosted?
The first event I ever cast, yes, it was
Yeah.
the It's Gosu Razor Mini Madness. It was I think a C, maybe a couple Chinese teams. Yeah, it was a little mini cup, and there was a ticket for it. It was like a 5 or 10K prize pool, maybe. I cast with that guy Kawa, Kawa. I was
Oh yeah.
dog shit. I didn't know anything. I remember getting flamed because somebody picked Enchantress, and for some reason I suggested that they should rush Orchid on Enchantress, and Twitch chat made fun of me like crazy. I don't even know where I got that from. I think I tried to double down on it and play it off like, oh, I saw it in a guide somewhere, and he was like, link me that guide, bro. I'm like, oh, I'll try to find it. Oh, like really, really bad, staggeringly bad. Um,
Like what? Do you remember which year it was? In reference.
2013, I think. I think it
Mm,
was in the dead period right before TI,
I
or
see.
or it might have been in September right after TI. It was one of
I see.
those.
Yeah, that's cool. I remember like the first actual land that I cast was I think we talked about this. There was Mars League. There was Mars League going on, and I think Moonduck was casting it in China, and at the same time ESL Hamburg was going on. So and there was this Aces tournament in Philippines, and I was casting and like there was top tier talent actually. There was Purge, Fogged, and I don't remember who else was there. Like that at that time, I think it was 2016. There was already a lot of talent because ESL was tagged with a lot of talent. You guys, where did you cast that this tournament, or am I crazy here? This moon, the
What year?
Mars
What year are we
League,
talking?
2016. I want to
All right,
say.
let me type Moonduck into Wikipedia here. We might have covered it remotely. That sounds like vaguely.
I think Gods was casting it. Maybe.
He
I
definitely
remember
wouldn't have been covering
Gods
it on
there.
Moonduck. What?
Mm,
Hmm. I'm not sure.
wait.
I
Uh,
doubt it. If we were doing it remotely. It might have
mm.
been a hub. Was it like a qualifier thing where we were doing a hub?
I think they were in China, and there was like some disasters going on, and because of that, no one was watching the tournament that we were making because, like, there was like two big tournaments going on.
Mm. That's happened a couple times where it's like there's an event in Asia and an event in Europe at the same time, and they're not competing time zones, so they're technically
Yes,
not overlapping. But yeah, it's like separate talent pools and stuff. And yeah, it's I know that
yeah,
that's happened a few times. it's sort of a shitty setup when you're on the losing end of it.
Mm-hmm. I was happy though because I actually got to go to
You have
my
to
first lap. So that was pretty cool.
Well, you had a better experience. What did you get paid well for that?
It was pretty decent actually. Let me try. I think it was pretty decent. We worked 6 days, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it was good, and the hotel was really nice. Like the Southeast Asian countries have some pretty good hotels.
Because
So,
not that I want to flame too hard. They treated me very well after the last event, but that epicenter that they did, where they did like the caster competition thing. Do you remember
oh
that?
yeah,
Did you compete in that?
I think I tried the second one, but didn't go that well. The first one I didn't compete.
Yeah. That ended up being kind of weird. Where I think it was
Oh,
kind of
everyone thought
just.
they were gonna go to
Well, they
actual
they
to.
ended up inviting a bunch of talent to Moscow. I think it was like B Cop and Killer Pigeon. I think Breaky CPK went, and like one of the parameters was you had to have not cast an official Dota DPC major or something.
Yeah.
I remember there was a very minor, like people were criticizing Breaky because he technically hadn't cast a Dota major, but obviously he's cast like a shitload of Heroes of New Earth majors, so it felt a little bit like you're not really an up and comer, dude, just because you haven't technically cast a major yet. Like we all know you're gonna kind of thing. But from what I heard, that ended up just being an excuse to save money on talent, wrapped
Yeah.
up in like we're gonna give some up and comers a chance, and then they hired those up and comers who are like, you guys excited to come to Russia? Yeah, we are. All right, cool. Where are your tickets? Wait, are we getting paid? Yeah, how about $100 a day? All right, cool. We're going to Russia. Woo! It's like, I don't know if it was actually
gotta
100 a day, but it was something to that. It was like maybe 150 a day or something. I think the rates were actually abysmal.
And the flight tickets were not covered.
No, the flight tickets were covered. It's like they covered the expenses, of course, but it's like you get them excited about the event, and then once they commit to it, they go, oh wait, oh yeah, we don't know better. We didn't ask about rates. So you just sort of accept whatever they throw you. I did it. The first event I ever worked, that was like at LAN, the Heroes of New Earth one in 2012. That was at DreamHack. They didn't negotiate with me at all. They just said, do you want to cast DreamHack? I said yes. They said okay. They booked me a plane ticket, and then they PayPal'd me $700 with the tag per diem. And I said to my mom, what's a per diem? And she said, you're gone for 7 days. That's $100 per day. A per diem is you're spending money for the company. Like, usually you're getting paid a salary. And if you go on a company trip, they pay you that money so you can buy food and shit so you don't have expenses out of pocket. It's like a nice little thing. So effectively, that was my rate. I got $100 a day for 7, because I was a contractor. I didn't have a salary. So like my contract had expired, and then they still took me to go to DreamHack. So yeah, I got $700 to work for 7 days.
Wow.
It sucked. Well, it was awesome actually. Again, it's like it's my first. I was just stoked. I was in that mindset. I was like, I'm going to Sweden. Woo! Like, Mom, I got a gig. Woo, woo! I'm just bragging to all my friends. Somebody's hiring me to go to Sweden to talk about video games, bitch. Woo! Like, that was me, man. I was on cloud 9 because I got paid and flown to go somewhere. That was when I was young and naive and thought, but they paid $1,500 for a flight for me to get there, man. That's $1,500 I would have had to pay.
That's $2,200 dollarinos they spent.
Yeah, exactly. But
I'm trying to remember how much they paid. I think it was like $600 a day, maybe. I guess it was. Considering it was my first LAN and it was 2015,
That's
maybe it's not. Yeah, I think it was actually decent. And the hotel was so good. I have to praise the hotel. The breakfast was insane.
No, that but, 500 a day, I think is you're in like a ballpark of generally fair territory. Obviously there are a lot of talent that make substantially more than that, but
yes,
I think that's that's a number that no matter who I am or where I'm at, I hear that and go 500 a day. That's more than I make on most days. I could do that. I'll think about it. So yeah, that's that first epicenter though. I think ended up being, I think a couple folks might have learned that lesson that you definitely want to negotiate a little bit. You generally don't accept the first offer.
Hmm.
One of the things I wanted to ask you, though, we went down this other rabbit hole, but we were talking about Purge, and one of the things that I feel like I've observed that I've said to people is that Purge has this really hardcore fan base of like really loyal fans, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about like why he's not necessarily the highest MMR player. He's not like the most energetic or engaging. He does have a unique energy, but it's like, what is it about Purge that allows him to hold 1,500 concurrent viewers when he's playing pubs? And I realized it's because he makes content that gets people over that hump to keep them playing Dota 2. Most of his fans are people that started playing Dota some weird which way, were frustrated and about to give up, stumbled onto his guides or videos, somehow managed to not give up. Now they're hooked in hardcore Dota fans, and they feel this sort of like life debt feels extreme, but this connection to like, dude, you're the reason I'm playing this game because I would have said fuck this if you didn't make that awesome content that kept me playing and like broke down some of those barriers. And I've what really hammered that home was meeting Purge fans in real life. You know, the fans that showed up to Midas mode and were like, "Oh, hey Zyori, is Purge coming out soon?" It's just like, "Yeah, Purge is coming out soon," and they're like, it's like real fandom. You know, it's like they really have that celebrity like, it's Kevin Godek won. You know, you can see their little erections forming in their pants. It's like, it's wild. And
Yeah.
but I kind of get it, right? Because Dota is a really hard game, and I can see why people would have that feeling of like, dude, you're not just a content creator. You're like the content creator that got me sucked into this fucking universe. Do you get any? Do you? I guess A. Do you agree with where I'm coming from? And B, do you experience any of that? Because I think you make content that's of a similar flavor.
I do agree. I think I remember in that event that I cast, Purge was also there, and so many people were getting autographs from him. It was crazy. Like it actually felt like pretty much everyone else was being ignored, but everyone was getting like whenever Purge would walk, there was like a line of people asking him for autographs. And I do feel like I do have that audience. But it's pretty scattered. I remember like at TI and stuff, people would actually recognize and talk to me. Um, but I don't feel like my audience is the same as Purge. Maybe because like my guys aren't as accessible in a way. Like I feel like everyone that starts playing Dota 2 should watch Purge. So maybe like the bond is a little different. But there's definitely I would say hardcore fans
Yeah.
for sure.
It's
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing to observe because one of the things that I remember Valve telling us at BTS when we were pitching the idea of the summit, like the very first time we said, "Hey Valve, this is an idea we have. What do you think? You know, would you approve a compendium for this wacky concept that we've got?" Kind of phishing campaign. And one of their main pieces of feedback was the most underserved aspect of Dota are the casual viewers. The people that can't watch esports because they don't understand what the fuck the commentators are saying. There's so much lingo in Dota 2. There's such a steep learning curve. Our data strongly indicates that the vast majority of the Dota player base is relatively casual. They understand like a quarter of the heroes. You know, like they're not the hardcore Redditors that you're reading are not the numbers-wise majority of the player base. Everyone's catering towards the hardcore player base. Find a way to engage the casual aspect of the Dota community that are underengaged right now, and you might be able to strike gold. We didn't necessarily listen to that advice with the summit, but I've never forgotten that kind of just the way they laid that out of like, yeah, that's a cool idea, guys, but hey, listen, this is what we really think you should focus your energy on. And just knowing that Valve is such a data-driven company, I've always had that in the back of my mind of like, how can we reach that like that sweet spot of like 2 million of those monthly active Dota players that really like the game but are like they're not even playing ranked yet. They're just running around in unranked or limited heroes or some shit. There's a fuckload of those people, man, and you don't know that they exist because they don't follow you on Twitter or engage with your shit on Reddit or watch your shit on YouTube. They're just playing the game with blinders on like, Man, it'd be
Yeah.
cool if somebody made a guide about this hero. Oh, I'm going to go make lunch now. All right, see you later. And they log off and that's it. How do you fucking reach those people, Bowie? I've been asking myself that question for years now.
I guess the in-game guides might be a way, right? Because I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of the newer players use them a lot. I've seen like ads on those things.
True. That's true.
Uh,
The tortellini model. Although seeing his LinkedIn, I think he's struggled to monetize that model. So I don't know if I'd recommend going all in on the in-game guides. They're hard to monetize.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, they're not really that monetizable. But didn't he sell to Rivalry or something?
He
Or
did.
maybe
I guess
for a while.
I don't know the details of that. So
Mm.
maybe that was a really big deal. I guess it doesn't appear to be active since I haven't seen stuff popping up in my feed. So I assume that was a one-off or a short-lived or like a.
Yeah.
I know Rivalry is a company that likes to support good content creators, and I know that they are willing to quote gamble sometimes on stuff that's like, we know this guy's good. We know there's demand for this content. We don't know if buying this branding space is going to yield anything, but hey, let's try it. They kind of did that with Jungle Jam for us. That's not even really a
Yeah.
secret. You know, Rivalry was like, this is a crazy idea. We like crazy shit. Let's see if this works. Let's go for it. I don't know if they would sponsor Jungle Jam 2.0, but it wasn't the kind of thing where we oversold it then burned the bridge. We went into it knowing that it was something no one had ever really done before and that there was some risk attached to it. So I could totally see that being the case with the guide thing. Where they're like, hey, let's fucking try it, man. You know, you got a good thing going here. We'll throw you $5,000. Hit us with a sponsorship. Let's see what happens. You know, that buys you however many months in your world of contracting, and then where do you go from there? I don't know. It's also really tough if you sell a sponsor and then it doesn't go that well. And then you're like, all right, well, I'll just sell it to another sponsor. And then they ask for the metrics and you're like, yeah, we got a 1% conversion rate. Like, you know, like it. So if the data's bad, that makes it even worse sometimes, you know? Uh-oh. Did we lose him? I think we did. Bowie looked awfully still. I was like, damn, this guy is fucking good at yoga. Uh-oh. Oh, geez. I'm not going to win this staring contest. Well, we'll see if he comes back. Gosh, I hope this isn't an issue for our coverage coming up. But that's a bummer. Well, I guess we'll wrap up the podcast there. I keep thinking he's just going to reconnect at any second, but man, what a weird podcast. I feel like this was the Trent and Zyori podcast with Bowie. We're going to need to do a part 2 and really dive deep with getting to know him a little bit more. But goddamn, at least we made it an hour and some. So, folks, make sure you follow this man. Oh, we're getting some text back. Maybe he's going to be coming back here. Oh, there he is. Thank God. Bowie, welcome back.
Brazilian internet, dude. Sorry.
Whew. It's going to be a long season, bud. Jeez.
Oh, God. Please.
What were we saying right before that? Jeez, I totally lost my train of thought.
We were talking about Rivalry. I think,
oh, yeah,
and,
yeah.
Sponsorships.
So yeah, just I could totally see, you know, what from Tortellini. It's like you do that first activation. If it doesn't go well, how do you sell it to another sponsor? Like, hey guys, look at these awesome. Look at this 0.5% conversion rate we got. You know, like that's if the data's bad, that having a sponsorship sometimes can not be good long term. You want it to be able to be a growth point. So yeah, I don't know how you reach those more casual Dota folks, but they're definitely out there, man. And
yeah, I think that the biggest problem is that like on Twitch, it doesn't feel like those casual people are watching. I really wanted to see like someone that was really bad at Dota get a lot of viewers because I feel like I could learn so much from it. But like I don't like you don't see anyone that's just like learning the game or do you have any experience with like someone that is like or either funny or trying to learn the game, like getting a lot of exposure? Because I feel like Twitch could be a way.
Only people with existing followings. I think like Day9 kind of did that, but you know he's obviously got a base already. I can't really think of a good example in recent memory of like somebody that kind of started from scratch in Dota, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I mean, how's your Twitch been going? Are you streaming regularly? Are you like full-time
Oh
streamer
man,
status, or what's
I am
your?
not full-time streaming status. It's so rough because I I love streaming in concept, but I don't feel like I'm a great streamer. And at the same time, I feel like it's much harder to play Dota when you stream, right? Because you have to be kind of like,
Yes.
I'm having fun.
Oh,
But
oh,
Dota,
oh.
especially when you're trying really hard, can be tough. So I'm trying to like, okay, I want to get to 7K MMR as fast as possible, but at the same time, I'm not sure
Yeah.
how slower am I climbing because I'm streaming. So I'm not streaming at the moment, but
I
I
see.
am playing with the idea of coming back maybe in between Dota
Well,
Pit or
I've been
when I get
lying
more
to
MMR.
myself and everybody else that I'm pushing to 4K, but I've really just been stuck at 3K, and that is the content, you see. And I thought my stream wasn't content, but over the holidays, I hit my first 100 concurrent viewer stream of me just playing pubs. I don't know,
Huh.
Bowie. I don't know what it takes to be a good streamer anymore, but I just try to make
Yeah.
fun of my teammates and the enemies and get them to call really stupid strategies and make fun of them and see if I can carry the game despite their boneheadedness. And it's always like every stream is just okay, how many games can I play before I get mad? Some days it's 1, some days it's 5, but every stream ends with I'm gonna go make dinner. I'll see you guys later. I fucking hate Dota. And like they keep coming back. I think there's
Hmm.
this thing where people like watching the torture. They live vicariously through my pain, you know. So
Yeah.
we'll see. You know, it's
That's why I don't play pubs. I watch Zyori
yeah.
because pubs suck.
I mean, I don't know, and it's
Uh,
also an interesting question. If I Sheever was the one that shifted my perspective a little bit of, you know, what is my
that's
goal
true.
with streaming? What is the threshold of viewers you need to have for it to be worthwhile? And I kind of
Mhm.
realized it's not necessarily that high. Like if I could hold 1,500 concurrents, oh yeah, obviously that's worthwhile. But 150 concurrents, if you've got 100 subs and you hold like 100 to 200 viewers just watching you play games that you enjoy playing, that
Yeah.
is totally worthwhile. Like what Sheever's got going on with her Final Fantasy stream is kind of the dream. It's like 130, 150 subs. You're playing your games. You got some real engaged viewers that are your hardcore fans. To me, that's kind of the sweet spot of streaming. I think it almost gets a little bit less appealing when you get to this like kind of bulldog-ish level. Like, yeah, he makes a fuckload of money and that's cool, but it's like I like that I can read my Twitch chat while I'm playing and that I recognize the names for the most part and that it
Mhm.
feels like a community and that I can see like, oh, that's a new person. Oh, cool. And like that's fun. And we kind of know each other and we can engage with each other. Once it hits a certain scale, it's like a different type of community. So realizing
Yes.
that gave me more like grounding and feeling like, okay, I got 40 subs right now. My goal is to be able to hold like 100 to 150. We're making some progress, but I feel like my goal isn't that lofty. You know, that is achievable if I put the effort and the hours in, right? So I'm
Mhm.
curious how you feel about it. Of like, if you've ever thought about like,
Uh,
what's your threshold to not be like demoralized by streaming? You know, if you've got 20 viewers, are you like, fuck, this is a waste of my time? Or are you like, damn, that's 20 people that are fucking Bowie fan. Those are Bowie tattooers right there.
no. What kind of pressures me not to stream is definitely not like how many people are watching me, but more about uh I don't know, like I guess I'm insecure in the sense that like I've been doing Dota for a while and I don't get hired as much as other people. So I feel like, oh, maybe the problem is my English, maybe the problem is my MMR. So right now, what I'm trying to focus on is MMR, and I think that playing without streaming kind of it's just easier to get MMR basically. So
Definitely.
it's
Yeah.
not really about the attention that I'm getting.
I see.
I love streaming. Like it could be 10 people. Like it's really fun to actually talk to them, explain things, and just like actually go with the flow to whatever everyone's talking about. But yeah, I guess maybe when I get to 7K, I'll just stream every day, like regardless. I really like it, and I
Huh.
think I'm also kind of burned out with making video content. So I really want
Yeah.
to get into streaming. It's just that I kind of have these other things going on that I guess help me in the long run to like be a talent and
It's
stuff
kind of
like that.
funny though, like talking to you and T-Gov, like from the analyst perspective. It's so
Hmm.
interesting how different our like day to day. is. Like, we both work in the same sphere and it's around the
Yeah,
same hype and the same gameplay, but what we do and how we make our money and how we like justify our credentials couldn't be different. You know, like I really
yeah,
see myself really as like a play-by-play hype man, like kind of funny guy. Like my goal is just to enable my co-hosts to say more stuff, be more outgoing, fall on the sword if I have to. I'm like the clown at the rodeo, you know, and you guys are like
yeah.
the dudes riding the bulls. We both have important jobs. People buy tickets for both roles, but it's so interesting that like you know in my head I think like I've had that conversation. Okay, if I got 5K MMR, what would that do for me? It's like, okay, yeah, people would probably respect me a little more. There'd be less memes about who are Concaster and chat, but would I get hired
Uh-huh.
for more gigs? No, I don't think so. Do any of the TOs that hire me even know what my MMR is? No, I don't think so. Will more people tune into my podcast because I have 2,000 more MMR? I don't
Hmm.
think so because I don't make content that is relevant to my MMR. That doesn't change my opinion about the financial metrics of running tournaments. So not that I don't want the MMR. It's just my analysis is that it doesn't really change my bottom line that much. The same way like networking does, or coming up with like a proposal that solves a financial solution that somebody was struggling with. To me,
True.
that's how I get gigs, like project managery, like problem solver, back channeling, networking. Like that's what I spend a lot of my time doing that ends up driving my livelihood. All this shit we're doing right now, this is like the hobby side of it. You know, my career and my hobby are all bundled into the same sphere. So,
True.
like, streaming is kind of in the middle where it makes a little bit of money and it's kind of a hobby. The podcasting is a hobby that I want to make more money with. And the casting and management stuff is where the actual money comes from.
I mean, I'm not even sure. Like, I might even be wrong, about the MMR part of things, because I don't know. Like, what if we cast together and like we kill it? We have this like amazing chemistry. Maybe I don't even need 7K for people to want to hire us again, but it feels hard to work on like that chemistry thing when like by yourself. So I
Yeah.
guess like
Yeah. That's
when I
true.
look at the things in front of me that I can try and improve, that's like the easiest one. But maybe I'm not even right about that. But that's I guess you just gotta
Well,
move and
let me throw this at you. All right, there's someone
huh.
whom I don't really like that much, but this individual said something that I do think is some key insight. Have you
All
ever
right,
thought that maybe you're not a bad content creator, that instead you're just a terrible marketer? Maybe you just really suck
for
at
sure.
marketing your content.
I think I am awful at that, 100%.
And I don't know what the secret formula is because I've had that conversation with myself recently, like talking to Jenkins and some others. Like, okay, I want to do podcasts. Okay, what's the best way to like? Do I make a new YouTube? Do I game the metrics? Is it about audio only? Like, what are all the different avenues to hit from like a technical standpoint? But then fundamentally, what is it that drives the clicks and gets new audience discovery? And figuring
Hmm.
that out is part of understanding that quest of, yeah, it's not really the content that was bad. That first Zyori plus one I did with Barney, I think, was an amazing podcast. But how do I market it? I don't know.
Yeah.
What's the crossover? I met that guy 7 years ago, or I'm sorry, that girl 7 years ago. She doesn't play Dota really. I don't play World of Warcraft really. Like, there's no crossover in our content. There's no subreddit I can cross post on. There's
Mm.
no. We're just two cool people that had a really cool conversation, and that's really hard to chop up and market to people that don't know us very well already, that would already be interested in clicking on it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just like a weird piece of insight that I guess I don't know exactly what to do with that info, but I feel like I fit into that category. I'm proud of my content. I should have gotten a major in marketing instead of entrepreneurship because I don't know how to get people to click on some of this shit.
Dota is really hard in that sense, because yeah, when you look at the content that actually gets like million views, it's always funny, weird, like Dota what the fuck, or
Yeah.
I feel like there's still a lot to grow in that sense of like getting really good content that markets to everyone that is not funny Dota videos.
Yeah.
and I want to know what that is, but I'm not entirely sure what it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Uh,
I mean, I think Sunsfan and Synderen are kind of doing it. I have seen some of their podcast numbers, and
oh,
fuck, it made me feel bad about myself, dude. I mean, I think their show. I don't know what their YouTube numbers look like, but audio only listens. I would say that their podcast is about 20 times more popular than the Trent and Zyori podcast. 20x. That is a staggering differential. I mean, I know Sunsfan and Synderen are much more popular than Trent and I, and they have an amazing chemistry. And it is a really good podcast. I listen to it sometimes, but you see those numbers, and it's like, damn, that's untapped potential. How are you guys not selling ads on this? Like, that it drives my business senses crazy. But those are the kind of questions of how do you scale a podcast like that? I asked Sunsfan, you know what his response was? I don't know, bro. I just talk with Synderen and then upload it to YouTube. That's his brilliant marketing strategy. Well, I don't know. I made Dota Cinema, so I just post things on Dota Cinema, and then people click on it or they don't. I don't know.
yeah.
Fucking Sunsfan, dude. Like, he's so painfully popular. It's not even luck. There is some weird skill art form there. He's so Lebowski-esque. It drives me up a fucking wall. I want to be him so badly.
I never heard that word associated to Sunsman, but I think it describes him perfectly. Actually, that is really good.
Yeah,
and I actually listen to their podcast literally every day, but then I stopped going to the gym, and it's been a while since I've listened to it. But they definitely have something going on there. I think they had like a chair sponsorship at some point.
they've had a couple.
Yeah.
They've had a few smaller ones, but I don't know. I want to do more of this podcasting content and really figure out the formula. I think there's a place for this kind of long form stuff that I'm doing here on like the Trent and Zyori podcast, where we just kind of go and whatever comes out comes out. Sometimes you get these really great moments, and sometimes you have these kind of awkward podcasts that, not like this one, but some that it just wasn't a 10 out of 10. There wasn't that same energy, that vibe, whatever. Maybe we were both tired. Maybe my questions weren't good. But I think there's room for more of that kind of curated, targeted content. Sort of like what we did at the Jungle Jam, the Bowie Bites thing, where it's like, here's a video with a very specific concept target that's not too long, very digestible. You know what you're getting into when you click on it for the most part, and you walk away with a very tangible, like, oh, cool, I get it now. Thanks for explaining that to me. I think that's definitely on my to-do list for 2021, is trying to make more content like that.
Nice. I for a while actually thought about making content from these like big games, right? Because I think another sort of content that has a lot of clicks are those how do you actually, like, only the highlights from the pro games thing. What's the name of the guy?
Noob from UA.
Yes, Noob from UA. Maybe like trying, that like sport commentators would get the highlights and talk about them and stuff like that.
Yeah, like
I thought about
SportsCenter
making
shit.
I thought about making stuff like that, but never really found the format. So maybe that's something I can work.
It's
like, people
so
do
hard.
watch those games, so if they can get like a very short summary of what happened, not just the actual highlights, but maybe a little shorter, but still informative.
It's definitely
that's
possible. There is a market for that. Noob from UA does it there's a reason his formula works. People want that quick, easy to digest kind of thing. But yeah, a couple people have tried that and haven't really made it click. But I think it's hard to do it without a certain level of production, and then it becomes this like really expensive show to produce that never yields enough clicks. And I don't know. Sometimes I look at Noob from UA and I'm like, simple is better, man. Dota fans don't want it dressed up. They just want the good stuff. They don't care about the bells and the whistles and the ricketa-racketa,
Yeah, it's just that, like, I'm not sure how he worked. Like, if he actually gives part of the YouTube revenue to the TOs now.
I don't know.
But I just assumed you wouldn't be able to profit from the footage alone. But
You can
Maybe.
if you record it yourself and then you hire your own casters and stuff. He's found some
Oh
loopholes.
yeah.
He's done an
Yeah.
okay job for himself. I have always been salty because I think the big brain play for that guy is to do what you just suggested. Very early on, he should have used his YouTube as a proof of concept and then
Mm-hmm.
leveraged that to TOs as the highlight guy. And then
Uh-huh.
TOs would pay him and hire him to do that
Huh.
quickly and in real time. But he
Yeah.
didn't want to do that because his vision, I think, is, well, if I own my channel and I grow this thing to 1 million subs, I'll make more money and own all of it myself rather than making stuff for other people where they own the content and I'm just getting money. This way, the way he's doing it, he actually owns the content, which I've not talked to him about it, but I assume that he values that more than just money in his pocket. I would think just giving the content away but getting more money is more valuable, but apparently not. I offered to
Mm.
sell him the rights for Midas Mode, exclusive highlight rights, but he said no, he wouldn't buy them. So,
Huh.
yeah, I don't know. I think that dude makes a lot of money, so, or at least he has in the past. So
I think so. With
very
his numbers.
innovative. Very, very innovative. And I understand why
Yeah.
there's a demand for it. I don't necessarily blame people for clicking on his channel, but the dialogue surrounding it is cumbersome, I guess.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's something that Valve should have addressed because it's hard for
Well,
separate TOs to deal with.
I think they
with him,
did.
right?
I'm okay with where it's at now. Basically, it's he's not allowed to take anything except the stuff that Valve owns. That
Oh
the
yeah, the
the big
player
issue for
perspective.
so many years is that people couldn't delineate this idea of layered IP ownership. This idea that it's
Mhm.
not just binary of like Valve said it's
Yeah.
okay, Valve owns everything. It's like, no, there's multiple parties involved here. My voice is coming into Dota TV. Valve is giving permission from their side. I still have a side in this. It's still my likeness that you're taking. I didn't sign away my exclusive rights to Valve for them to sign away to you for free. They're giving away their part. I can still decide whether or not I'm giving away my part. And that very simple distinction in the original Valve video policy was completely lost. And that was what everyone stole. And I'm like, nope, Valve says it's okay. And because you put it in Dota TV, that means Valve has the rights to say what happens to it in perpetuity in the whole universe. And no, that's not how it works. I didn't sign jack shit to have my voice put in the Dota client. It's all just handshake, general goodwill stuff, which means I still have some ownership over my own likeness. And
Mhm.
their recent policy clarifies that much better. So they basically say, yeah, you can take anything you want from Dota, but camera work is considered IP. So you can't just take someone else's camera work. You've got to do your own camera work. You can use the gameplay footage, but you can't just take the caster's audio. That's someone else's IP, either the casters or the tournament. So you can, have your own casters cover the game. The Dota part is open. All the stuff that the TO does is not open. And I think that's a fair distinction. I'm totally okay with that. Because now
Yeah.
Noob from UA has to pay people to cast on his channel, or he can't just rip off our casters because we hired them to be there.
Mm-hmm. Like my, I guess my question, and maybe you don't know the answer for this, is like, what if I want to make a highlight channel, but I am actually a guy saying what's going on, or like, oh, this happened, whatever happened. So it is transformative content because I'm not just ripping off the stream or whatever, but I'm using your voice from a cast that you did. Like, is there a point where my content is transformative enough where I'm not like breaking copyright or you know what
Yes,
I'm trying to say?
I think I do. And the short answer is yes. There is some line there where it's transformative, right? Like, here's an
Mhm.
example. The Score Esports has made a bunch of videos that are these like
Oh,
historical little mini documentaries. Like, okay, Thompson, here's his journey, right? They used a clip from an interview I did with him at Press Day that's on my YouTube channel.
mhm.
Right, I own that. They didn't ask for my permission. They put a credit in the video, and it's like a 5 to 10 second clip, right? That would be
Yeah.
considered fair use, transformative. Like, they're not the essence of the video is not my interview. My interview is being used as a supplementary clip to make a broader case, and that broader case is what makes it transformative. So, like,
Mhm.
that doesn't bother me. If you're making a video that's like, hey, here's the top 5 times Gork has done this thing. Let's break it down. And in those, you're using clips that I'm casting. That doesn't bother me that much because the video isn't a replacement for my casting. The video is to learn a lesson about what Gork is doing. In the Noob from UA example, it's not really the transformative is that he cut some shit out of it. That's not transformative. You just took my hour-long video and made it a 15-minute video. You just ripped it off and made a shorter version of highlights. To me, that doesn't qualify as transformative. You didn't really.
No, I agree.
So what's the middle ground between there? Like, where do I draw that line? I don't fucking know, man. It's like a weird kind of case-by-case thing. But there's to me, there is a degree of like, what's your intention here? And in his case, just saying this is a highlight. It's like, no, that's not. I own that. I don't get to just like, hey, look, here's 15 minutes of that Adam Sandler movie. Let's watch it on my Twitch now. No, Adam Sandler still owns those 15 minutes. Just because I trimmed out the other hour and a half of the movie doesn't mean that I can do whatever I want with the 15 minutes. So,
I agree.
So yes, I'm okay with some things being transformative. But, and I think we all would have been a little nicer with Noob from UA if he was a little more accommodating and respectful to the idea of like, hey, I'm taking your likeness rights and, you know, I should at least pretend to care about how you care about how you're being presented. And he kind of did when we first said, hey, man, you're just ripping off our shit. He responded with, Valve said it's okay. Here's the policy. Or like, dude, that was our like talent show match. You ripped off our camera shots. That's not in the Dota client. You just stole that from our Twitch stream. Oh, I'll delete those parts then. But the rest of it's fine. It's like, all right, asshole. Like, every conversation I've had with that guy has been abrasive like that, where he's not like, hey man, I really like your content. I'm trying to do this thing. There was never this feeling of goodwill. It was always this like, well, technically, I'm allowed to like, all right, well, technically, if you're allowed to steal from me, are you still going to do it? It's still like immoral, man. Fuck. So that's why I have a little bit of like a personal vendetta, and it's doubled down with, he has multiple times tried to play the victim on Reddit and on social media, where after he has been a hard ass in negotiations and he's like pretended not to speak English and shit in key moments at negotiations. That's pretty lame.
What the hell?
Yeah, I'm sure he would deny that, but I'm pretty confident it's true. It's shit like that. It's just like really lame negotiation tactics. And to go on Twitter and be like, I'm just trying to do a nice thing for the community. Like, yeah, then unmonetize all your videos, bitch. Yeah, you're doing a nice thing for the community and you're getting paid, you Trumpian economic asshole. Like, yeah, it doesn't make him a bad person, but it's just a very cowardly way to like, I'm just gonna, well, my bully tactics didn't work, so now I'm just gonna play the pity card and try to rally the community against BTS is like lame tactic, and that doesn't change the immoral nature of just like ripping people's shit off. I get it. We're all using each other. Internet IP's complicated. He is sort of doing a service to the community. It's a bit convoluted. End of the day, if he were nicer and more respectful about it, I think a lot of people would have been way nicer to him in return. You
like
reap what you sow a little bit.
He could have actually talked to TOs, or maybe like if it's actually something for the community, maybe he could have organized a Patreon or something, and then like they would find a way where like TOs and the community is okay with what he's doing. But no, he has
I can
his
tell
channel.
you for sure during Summit 1, Summit 2, Summit 3, when I was there at BTS, we did not have a good solution for our VODs. We did not have a solution for highlights. All of our VODs were super delayed because we literally had salaried staffers doing it that were casting all day because we didn't want to pay out of pocket for contractors to do it. We had no solution. We had no idea of how to do it. Now they've hired people to do it, and they've hired contractors that literally specialize in tagging and organizing all their VODs. That could have been Noob from UA. That conversation could have been a proposal of like, hey, you know what? I see why you guys are mad. We're at a crossroads here. Maybe I can help you out. This would be my rate. Let's figure it out. I can do this. I can hit this certain level of quality. I can do all these things that you guys aren't doing. We would have absolutely been open to that. We definitely would have read that proposal and had a meeting about it. I don't know that we would have accepted it. I don't know that the numbers would have made sense, but the demand was there and fucking still is there. So I don't know. Anyway, slash soapbox man. That's like, he's not a bad guy. I don't think he's like super malicious or anything, but his tactics are cowardly, and that upsets me.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
I definitely feel you in there.
And there's others too. He gets a bad rap. There's Dota Digest. Yeah, as someone said in Twitch chat, there are other sources that do that. He's not like the lone wolf or something. He's just the most popular. But oh shit, there was something else I was going to ask you, and now I've forgotten again. Well, must not have been important.
Okay.
Well, buddy, I don't know where we're going with all this, but we've been going for about an hour and a half. Anything else really grinding your gears that you want to get out there? I did want to talk to you a little more about South American Dota, but at the same time, we've got DPC stuff coming up, and maybe we can save some of the really deep South American dive for some future plans.
Yeah, I think we can. Yeah, there's nothing really grinding my gears right now. Oh, okay. There is one thing. There is one thing that I have to say, and it's nice that we. All right. Okay. This is gonna be a rant. This is going to be.
Okay.
That's something that actually bothered me before Christmas. So I think there is a lot of deserved criticism about DPC and about how things are going, but there is this one coach that I'm not sure I want to name that is just a rude person.
Okay.
All right, whatever. It's Sunby.
Oh, okay. I've seen some of Sunby's tweets about South America. Okay.
Dude, I really don't understand what that guy's thing is, but he is super racist, and he just fires shots at South America, even though he doesn't play South American Dota. He's not from here. He doesn't know anyone, and he assumes he knows everything. And I've ran through his, like, I actually Googled him and went through like Reddit, and there's so much weird stuff that he has done and said in video and text, and like, I don't understand how that's allowed. I am very pissed at him. I'm gonna be honest.
It sounds like we need to organize a Sunby Bowie, some sort of podcast debate, what have you, with a Zyori moderator. I think that could be quite the show.
I would love to talk to him because
he's
I
coaching
don't
Fnatic
where
right
he's
now.
Coming from?
That's who it is.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
He is.
All right. So I don't know Sunby very well. He's I've sort of like met him in passing, kind of like in groups of people, like hi, like I would recognize him, like when he was coaching Secret for a while, right?
Yeah, like he's a big name.
Yeah. So I think I met him kind of in passing a couple times, and I was hanging out like in the Secret player room at a few events. His most recent tweet about South America, I'll read verbatim here. This was December 26th, day after Christmas.
Yeah.
South American Dota like to complain that their scene gets shit on all the time, but their sponsored pros are the least professional in pubs. They AFK, grief games out of spite, etc. So when you don't value your own craft and the scene doesn't value you, can you really complain?
Yeah. And so first, where is he actually getting that we grief games more than any other region? And who said that like the scene values the South American players less? I don't know, dude. He like that's like out of nowhere as well. So like I don't understand where is he. I'm not sure if he was just mad that he played a pub with whatever South American player and he got mad. But like I actually tried to go back, and I remember him complaining about, like, there was this really bad tweet that I think he deleted about South America, and I don't want to say what it was because I don't remember it verbatim, but I think that one got deleted. But I don't get him. Like he doesn't have anything to do with South American. For some reason, he is pissed at it, and just wanted to vent that, maybe he shouldn't be that general about stuff if he's not here and doesn't.
Well, you make an interesting point that He's coaching Fnatic. I'm pretty sure he's living in Southeast Asia right now.
Yeah.
I wonder what triggered that tweet on the 26th of like, was he playing in pubs? Was there like, are there any SA players playing in C right now that were griefing him or something? It would be
Yeah.
interesting to see like if there were ever some data collection of which like region has the most toxicity in pubs from like an objective level of like immortal
Mhm.
games, like items being destroyed or like intentional fee, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I don't have much insight for you on this one, and I wish that I did. It's also strange that I see you and a few others replied to that tweet, and then he didn't reply to any of you. So
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
kind of threw that out there, which is like, all right, that's a bold claim. And then, like, it reminds. Remember when God said that thing about match fixing in Southeast Asia? And it's like that's a big
Oh.
number. But then in the Reddit thread, he did write a little paragraph that was like, "Hey guys, just this is I know not everybody listened. Here's the context of how I came. Why I said that number, whatever."
Mhm.
Agree or disagree, you can start to see where he's coming from when he justifies the perspective. It's always weird to me when
Yes.
someone puts a hot take out there but then doesn't want to back it up because, well, you kind of know where it's going if you're putting, it's a hot take when you hit the tweet button, right? So
Mhm.
you sort of expect that people will have some sort of a response to it. And then to not engage with the responses is like, well, then why where are we going with all this? So I am curious as well. And I'll admit, Sunbee is on my list of potentials to invite for Zyori +1, partially because I follow him on Twitter and I wanted to ask him what the fuck's been going on with his Twitter recently. So I'm equally
Please
curious,
ask.
buddy. I don't know.
Yeah. I would love to know the contest. Yeah, I would like to have a conversation, but he didn't reply. So far it just felt like rage thrown into the air, but maybe he knows something that I don't. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I mean,
Yeah.
I honestly don't. I mean, I'm not playing an immortal level pub, so I don't know exactly from like the pub level. But one of the things I was going to ask you earlier, if like, man, 2021, how does it feel to not be the worst region in Dota 2 anymore? I think South America is actually better than NA. I think Div 1, blow for
Huh.
blow, is going to be more competitive in the South American games. I think Div 2 will definitely be more competitive in South America. You look at the list of teams directly invited to uppers, yours has some legitimate organizations. We've got EG and a bunch of player orgs that, the four Zoomers ain't a real team, not because they don't have the
Yeah.
skills, but I mean, that's just a placeholder brand because they don't have an org. So like, I honestly think SA is in. I mean, it's not a big margin here. Both regions are struggling, but it's at the very least, it's like a draw for who's got it the worst right now. NA and SA are pretty comparable, which is big for SA. Like, think about where
Yeah.
that region was 5 years ago. I mean, big strides have been made. We can't deny it.
It
Still a
was not
long
even
ways
a
to go.
region 5 years ago, so
Yeah.
definitely we came a long way.
So
I'm
I
really
mean,
happy. I've seen like a lot of players coming out of retirement. Not as big news as PPD coming out of retirement,
well,
but I do feel like there's a lot of people that are gonna dedicate a lot of time to Dota, and that's more players. That's more streams, more people interested. So overall, like for the health of the game, I think it's great, and yeah, I'm definitely proud of having more notoriety, I guess. I really, I'm hoping for a Brazilian team at TI. Maybe we can get there.
I
Beast
mean,
Coast is probably gonna be the other one because those guys are really good. But maybe a Brazilian approving team at TI, that would be the dream.
it could happen. We've got 2 slots, so
Yeah,
there's definitely some hope. 2 slots for all the majors. That's some guaranteed love for South America. You need to make some top 8 runs, but it's not impossible. We've seen Beast
true.
Coast do it before.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's different problems, but y'all ain't the only ones struggling these days, my friend.
oh man, where's the NA LAN?
Yeah, that's ESL LA. That was going to be our last bastion. That was going to be our savior.
Oof.
I can tell you,
Okay.
Denver ain't the place to run Dota events. I still it upsets me to this day that like I think Midas Mode could have been a legitimate profitable event if we had just done it in Los Angeles or Seattle instead of Denver. If we had done Jungle Jam in Denver and then did Midas mode in one of the like real Dota hotspots, LA or Seattle, I think we would have had actually twice as many people show up. We had like 140-ish tickets sold to Midas Mode 2. I think we could have easily doubled that in LA or Seattle. Easy.
Oh man.
It's just a bummer. It's weird. It's shitty to think about that. Like, exact same execution, everything else pound for pound. Like, that's, I mean, those VIP tickets weren't cheap. You know, like, it was a long event. That's that doesn't sound like a big difference in ticket sales, but that's thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I imagine. Oof, dude, organizing events seems a nightmare. Like I've actually seen you working so much. Like I don't think I've ever seen you just like sitting and watching a game or just chilling until the last day where we could actually like hang out a little bit.
Some
But
events
it
are better
felt
than others.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's 2021. We need to figure out what our plan is with Moonduck because events are getting harder and harder to run. And I think all of us are getting a little more like, we got kind of lucky at some of those events that we barely scrapped together, that we put a lot of financial risk into. Maybe we should just make funny meme videos instead. You know, like I'm with you, man. Events have so much risk attached to them. So many ways they can go wrong. So many things that are kind of out of your control. It's really scary. And that there are some days where, you know, it's just appealing to be able to sit back and stream on Twitch and do my thing and not have to stress about anything other than my teammates, you know?
I feel you. Do you think like other games have it better? Like is it like financially viable to make events like this, or are we missing something that like no game like has so far?
A lot of other games have events more streamlined through the developer that owns the IP. So in some ways we have it easier in terms of like Moonduck's its own company, BTS is its own company, and we're able to like run events with Dota as kind of a platform that we monetize. That's a cool amount of freedom that's kind of unique to Dota. You look at League of Legends, there aren't really that many third-party league tournaments going on, right? It's still a major esports. It's just a different model. I think in other games, individuals have it better in terms of like talent and players and stuff. I've heard a lot of people say that as a streamer, Dota is one of the worst games in terms of average viewers to sub ratio. Like that's why Richard Campbell ain't hosting Dota events anymore because he makes more money sitting at home playing World of Warcraft because people that watch World of Warcraft actually pay for the content they like. And in Dota, we've got this like forever free model caked into everything we do. Like you couldn't charge for a podcast in Dota. Like who would pay $5 a month to listen to the Suns Fans podcast? Not enough people to make it worth it. So I think we have that way worse. I think in terms of being a streamer, if you want to stream 10 to 20 hours a week and make it worth your while, Dota is one of the hardest games to grind it out with.
Yeah, I would say so.
We have like a lot of viewers, but they're very concentrated in the Bulldogs, the Dendies, the Gorks of the world. And it's super top heavy. And then the drop off is it's just like all these streams with 100 or less viewers.
And tournaments too, right? Like the tournaments are not like you can't just stream tournaments 24/7 on Moonduck because you would have to be hosting 24/7 events.
I think all things equal, if I had a career in League of Legends and I were a commentator of similar reach that had, you know, done some stuff with, let's say I worked for IPL, like that whole anecdote I told earlier, and I wrote a book about that and Sniff, and it was in the League of Legends universe instead of the Dota universe, it would have sold thousands more copies. Because I think these other games are just like, think about how well Riot has merchandised their brand and created all of these other games around their brand, like the team tactics bullshit and like now Valorant. Like their ecosystem is just so much more cohesive and put together and monetized and like streamlined. I think stuff like that, we have it really shit in Dota. That's not Dota's fault. Just our audience is a little different for whatever reason.
I actually would like to talk to CSGO people and see because CS:GO is also from Valve, and I just remember that Knoxville said that Valve should have this like non-profit third-party organization to
That
handle
was
the esports side.
interesting.
I'm not sure how viable that is or anything, but if CS:GO feels the same things that we do in terms of like how their game is monetized and
Yeah.
how like, because I feel like maybe it's not as bad to them, but
There's a world where that could work. It's sort of a small target to hit, but I believe it's possible. It would just take a lot of effort and some attention to detail and nuance,
yeah,
some communication, some of those key things. But
just thinking out loud here.
yeah, absolutely. I will say though, to kind of wrap this up on a positive note, though, one thing that I feel good about right now is I know a lot of pros have been complaining about like the meta being kind of stale, but I have really been enjoying playing Dota recently. Like
Yeah.
this is some of the most fun I've had playing Dota in a long time. And some of it is streaming, and like I enjoy, like after this podcast, I'm looking forward to playing pubs, and it's like that cycle of, my regulars and them making fun of me for picking the heroes I suck at and stuff. But I have been genuinely enjoying the game. Like I think Dota as a game from like a game design perspective is still best in class, by far the best MOBA. Absolutely, I think one of the greatest games of all time. The more hours I put into it, the more I see the game as just a modern version of chess with physical real-time mechanics. It's like this combination of chess and poker where you're using strategy and thinking steps ahead to compound all these moves to box somebody in a corner, but you're also taking that Texas Hold'em element where you're never playing with perfect information, right? Fog of War has this sort of everyone has two cards thing, and some of the cards we're all sharing where we can see stuff, but you don't know exactly, so you're always like taking your best guess for any move, and that leads to all of this risk in literally every action that you take. And I mean, we are really just playing a modernized real-time version of fucking chess, dude. It's just a real-time strategy war game. And that's like a little grandiose, but every time I think about it like that, it kind of gives me the chills of like, dude, Dota is actually it is the best game ever fucking made. I'm not even ashamed to say, like,
I agree.
I was trying to explain it to my sister at Christmas. She asked me, because I took my computer and I was streaming from my sister's house during the downtime, and she said, like, aren't you ever going to get tired of playing the same game over and over? I was like, you don't understand, dude. The game is so complicated and so deep and has so much variance to it that, like, I will never play the same Dota match again in my lifetime with the same heroes and the same lanes with the same items. It'll never happen, because there's so many permeations after the fucking horn sounds that it's beautiful. It's beautifully complex when you wrap your brain around it, and that's what keeps me coming back. That it is truly impossible to master. You cannot play Dota perfectly as a human being, as we've seen it with OpenAI, the way the bots play around vision and they're right on the edge of fog, and they're like, if you push it to the ultimate skill cap, it's beyond the capabilities of a regular human. That's what makes it so fucking awesome. And what?
The game changes over time as well. Even if you master like one iteration of it, it's not going to be the same. So.
Exactly. And there's new stuff coming out, and it's just that there's so many elements to it. It really, despite all the issues that we're having and DPC and COVID and all this shit, it does make me really happy on just like a day-to-day level that I enjoy playing the game, and that I look forward to queuing up more solo queue. Even after a string of 7 losses with douchebag feeding teammates, after a 2-day break, I still have that feeling of I'm ready to have another go. I want to play some more Dota. I just fucking love the game, and there is just no other game I have that same level of comeback to-ness. A week off, and I'm like, I could go for a game of Dota right now.
Yeah.
Talking about Dota with you makes me want to fucking play Dota, dude.
I mean, I also play now.
Borderline addict here, but anyway, I just wanted to get that off my chest, man. I'm really fucking proud of where the game's at from a design perspective. The Frog is a goddamn genius.
He is. I couldn't agree more. I was just gonna ask if you actually watched Queen's Gambit.
I haven't yet. It's been on my list for a while. I keep saving it for like, okay, I'm gonna fucking watch this. And I keep putting on like background noise stuff for when I'm working on shit. I I need to. I need to really prioritize it. Everyone's told me it's fucking amazing.
Because like there's this comparison I wanted to make with Dota and chess, but it's a spoiler if you didn't watch the end of it. So
All right,
maybe we can
save it.
talk about it when
Yeah.
you actually watch it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That
Well,
makes me want to watch it even more though. That's...
it's a really good series. It's if you're into chess, that's definitely gonna be something that you're gonna enjoy.
I was as a kid, not as much anymore. I'm pretty shit at it, but
Yeah, me too. But like it actually made me play chess. So
yeah,
I watched some like chess videos and stuff. It's pretty good.
yeah.
Definitely recommended.
All right. Wow. All right, buddy. Well, this was an absolute pleasure. 2 hours just fucking flew by. I can't believe it's been that long already.
Yeah.
Folks, give him a follow. You know where to find him. He's at D2Bowie everywhere. He hasn't been on Twitch the last month, but he will be back. He's on Twitter. He's on YouTube. He's making mad content. Check out his support guide. Maybe get some MMR along the way. And keep an eye out because DPC is a coming. Bowie and I are going to be casting some of the South American qualifiers this week. They start tomorrow. Just going to be some casual coverage to wet our whistles a little bit and dip our toe in the pond with some of these SA boys. A lot more to come, folks. But a pleasure as always. Bowie, my man. I hope things keep going well for you. The grind is going to pay off, my friend. I swear. I swear.
I hope so.
Or
I mean, it's been a really good ride. So I mean, regardless of what happens, I'm really proud of everything.
that's the spirit, dude. It's all about the fucking journey. Absolutely, folks. You know where to find the podcast, Zyori.tv. I'm going to pop on the stream. I'm actually going to go make some lunch. I'm going to upload this podcast. I'm going to come back, and I'm going to stream some pubs tonight and take it easy. So I think that's the plan here. Get a little break, then come on back.
All right. Have a good one, dude. It was a pleasure.